Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is the show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. And before I get started in this video, I do have a Kickstarter going on for Slice of Life. It's about an anime character that comes to life and falls in love with a high school cheerleader, so definitely go check that out. And also at the end of the video, we talk about the viewer's pick of the week, so in the comments below, tell me your pick of the week for a chance to be featured on the episode. Now let's jump in. I had a pretty average size haul with 9 comic books this week, and number 9 for me is Quick Stops, issue 1, a book I kind of got on whim. I don't think I've ever digested a Kevin Smith movie, comic, or anything. So I was like, all right, Kevin Smith's making a comic book. Let's see what this is going to be all about. Did not expect it to be in black and white. And I should have expected, the type of humor that he usually has is not usually my type of humor. So I'm like, all right, couldn't get into that side. I could tell that if you are a fan of his movies, like the main guy, who is not Kevin Smith and his sidekick, he kind of looks like Ben Affleck, and I know he was in one of their movies, so I was like, okay, that's interesting. And it was all in black and white, is what I'm also going to say. So that was something I was not expecting in this issue, was that it wouldn't be colored, which I think if you're looking for a kind of an older school book, maybe it's a nice feel for that, but it just wasn't for me. So overall, giving that 2 stars, and then it's number 9. Moving on to number 8, a book I was actually really looking forward to, so sad to see it so low, and that is Batman and the Joker, The Deadly Duo. And if you think this is going to be anything different than any other Batman story we've gotten, I don't think that's necessarily here. So Jim Gordon, something happened to him, and now, Batman has to team up with the Joker, and that's kind of the story here. It's very gritty, it definitely leans more on the detective side of things, but I was expecting their team up to be more epic, or to what leads them to team up to be more epic, and I just didn't get that here. I didn't feel like I really cared about their dynamic in this, which is obviously the most important element to the story. So overall, I'm going to give that 2 stars, and that is number 8, I believe. Moving on to number 7. Another Bat book. I have not been enjoying this as much as I've wanted to, and I would say as much as the beginning of this series, or this run, and that is Batman issue 129. I feel like this was, again, another kind of filler issue of action. It's Batman versus FailSafe. They fight in space. Batman ends up in space, and now, how is he going to get out of this situation? It's good action. It's beautiful artwork, right? It's not a bad story by any means, but I want more character dynamics. I want a little bit more oomph to this story, like I got from that first issue of the run, but I feel like it's just been kind of spinning its wheels for this arc, and I'm just not as invested in FailSafe to have this many action issues in a row. So overall, giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, a book I won't say I got a whim, but, I was weary about, and that's Secret Invasion issue 1. So the topic of this week's video is, do we need another one of these? And is it mostly written because there's a TV show coming out? Yeah, you could definitely tell this was written more in the frame of not the original Secret Invasions, and more of, what's happened in the movies. Because we are focusing on Nick Fury, or kind of focusing on the Skrulls here, and it feels a lot like what we've seen in Captain Marvel, right? The movie and Nick Fury's elements there, and then we have Maria Hill in this issue. And I necessarily don't think this was a bad issue, but it doesn't really feel like an event. It just kind of feels like this side thing of, again, like, okay, we have this TV show coming out. Let's remind everybody what Secret Invasion's about. And it doesn't really feel like it's building off of anything that's been going on in the Marvel Universe, which is always a shame with these events. Also, I didn't feel like the artwork was as strong as it should be for such a big title and what I thought was more of an event book. I thought it was very dark, honestly, especially the coloring for this one. I thought the ending with Nick Fury becoming a Skrull was interesting and was a good twist, and which is why I give this 3 stars. I'm like, okay, there's some elements here that I can enjoy, but there's no heart for me. Even the beginning where you get to see this family, and you're like, oh my god, are they Skrulls? There was no emotional connection for me to care if they were Skrulls or not. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I guess they're probably Skrulls. Nick Fury's probably a Skrull. And even the mystery doesn't really build up too much. Was it better than I expected? Yes. But will I pick up the next issue? probably not. Honestly, the more I talk about it, I want to give it a 2.5. I already gave it 3 stars. We'll stick with the 3 stars, but I wasn't too impressed with this one. So overall, giving this a very light 3 stars. All right, moving on to number 5, which is She-Hulk issue 7. A book I've been enjoying. It's a bit of a slow burn, but I love Rainbow's character interaction. The characters could be reading a phone book and still somehow be entertaining. And this issue definitely focuses on the Jack of Hearts romance with She-Hulk, which was cute, but we've been seeing a lot of it. But where I feel like the issue really picks up is when we get to see Victor of the Runaways, which I love because Rainbow obviously wrote a really great Runaways run. We get a little bit of that case. But then, of course, at the end, we meet up with those 2 newer characters from a few issues ago, and they She-Hulk up with that layer that we've been seeing since I think issue 1, or at least it was some of the beginning issues of the book. So you're like, okay, now the plot's starting to pick up of maybe She-Hulk will learn a little bit about the Jack of Hearts and where this Jack of Hearts is from. Because remember, his body or some form of him was in this basement. So what's going on with that as well? Also, the artwork is always great. It is, just wonderful facial expressions for this one. Honestly, it reminds me a lot of the Runaway style. And I think it really works for this. So giving that 3.5 stars. And that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, the new Champion of Shazam issue 3. And I just wish there was more of this book. I truly love what's going on here. And this one, I will say, it's a little slower than the previous issues, but I think there's a lot of good character moments here where we get to see Mary, obviously try balancing her life as a hero and a sister, but also kind of regret that she had to leave her school and still try to figure out this mystery of her parents and how she emotionally is upset and kind of lashes out in a way that's understandable to her family. And this makes Darla run away, which is the cliffhanger of the issues, that she still wants to be a hero, Darla. And now not only does Mary have to find her parents, but has to find Darla as well. And will this kind of bring the family together? And the artwork is just gorgeous for this book, from the action to just these small moments of the shadow where Mary goes into the door and this goes back to be, or I should say Shazam. Mary Marvel comes into the door and then goes back to being regular Mary. I just really love the visuals of this book, and I think it's just top-notch art. So overall, giving that 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, and that is The Ones, issue 1. And I was really anticipating this one. I just thought that the concept was really interesting, where it's like, all right, how about if you were the one, the hero's journey trope of, okay, this is the person, average guy, average girl, average person, where they are destined to be something, and what happens after that. And what I really liked about this issue in particular, it's an ensemble, so we're introduced to many different ones. There's the stereotypical one of, someone who's a baby who doesn't even remember being the one. We have kind of a Buffy the Vampire Slayer person, a superhero, and we get to see a little bit of their personal lives as we go along. There's these really wonderful grounded elements. And I love this cartoony style of artwork as well. I think it works, and I like, again, all the different genres meshed in here, and the artwork really fine-tunes that very well and transitions well with the different genres. Overall, I will say the color scheme is pretty similar to all of them. There's not one like, oh, that's from the dark side of the universe. But I enjoyed the overall look of everything. And the ending, where we find out there's this demon baby out to hurt people because he's Satan, and everyone's like, well, at least one character's like, I'm not going to deal with that. And then 6 years later, she probably should have dealt with it. So I thought this was a really solid start. Definitely gave me enough to want to read more. So overall, giving that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, one of my favorite superhero books out there right now, and that is Punisher issue 7. I really, really just love this book. As someone who has never been a Punisher fan, I've been such pleasantly surprised by the art style. I love where you go to the past. You kind of have this gritty style. The same artist from Outcast, Robert Kirkman's book, and then we could kind of have a more, I would still say dark. It's not gritty, but a more clean-cut style for the present. And I have to say, I thought I was going to be really invested in the present. Not that I wasn't, but I think what really drives this issue in particular is the past, where we get to see Frank's wife, Maria, I think her name is, how she kind of dealt with Frank coming home and being a mom and what her life was like. And now we're kind of realizing this is actually the current Maria, remembering her own life as well and dealing with the loss of her children. So, and then obviously having Daredevil come in, it tied into some of the more religious aspect of Maria's background. But still, I thought that, it was nice to kind of relieve the more emotional story with that action. But I kept wanting to go back to the past. And I'm like, oh man, I like this Daredevil and Punisher fight, but I'm really interested to see more of this narrative. And I think it did weave really well overall, the issue. And I'm just really enjoying this book overall. So we will see where it goes because, I think the wife is starting to learn again about her past, but also about Punisher's present, of why he is guy is, and will she like what she's looking at, who her husband has become. So overall, giving that 4 stars, and that is number 2. Number 1 we're already up to, which is Dark Knights of Steel, issue 8. And this book, man, I love it. I'm so excited that it's back, and I really like the small moments of this issue. There's a lot that happens, especially by the end, but I think that's what really, really made it, was seeing Green Arrow interact with Black Canary for the first time, and then, just talking about their power set. It was very familiar to how Tom Taylor wrote them in Injustice and why they were great characters there, but, in a Dark Knight spin, and then we get to see other characters kind of deal with the death of Black Lightning, all the children, and Constantine in particular, and then in the end you're still questioning, did Supergirl actually kill them? And Wonder Woman still obviously trusts Supergirl, and by the end, does this other person that was being Supergirl become Lara, because we get to see her show up in the end and kill Wonder Woman's mom. So, overall, they don't want Wonder Woman and Supergirl to be together, because they're putting some wedges here. I'm excited to see how they're going to work through it, if they work through it, because there's a lot of drama between them and their families right now. But that was a really great cliffhanger, from the art style to just, the wow factor of the ending. It's just such a classic Tom Taylor cliffhanger as well. So yes, that was like, okay, this is my number 1 pick because of that. But again, there was just these smaller scenes between like Harley and Poison Ivy, or that really great Green Arrow Black Canary scene that just kind of builds this wonderful world and makes you care about the whole world, not just 1 or 2 characters. It really makes it feel more full. So overall, great art, great story, and giving that 4 stars as my pick of the week. So glad to see this has returned. Let me know in the comments below what your pick of the week was, and the viewer's pick of the week was Judgment Day, and here are some comments about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.